India's advanced GDP estimate for the financial year coming in higher than the government's initial projection of between 6.3 and 6.8%. The economy now expected to grow 7.4% in the fiscal year ending in March. That's slightly under economists' estimates of 7.5%. That's with manufacturing picking up pace. At the projected rate, India will be the world's fastest growing major economy, despite trade tensions with the United States, growing at 6.5% for the last fiscal year. And Rebecca Bundhun breaking down the GDP estimate for CNA from Mumbai. Rebecca, the advanced estimate for the financial year in India coming in close to expectations. What's driving those figures?
Yes, and that's a very robust figure. 7.4% predicted. And we have to remember that India is a consumer-driven economy, and that's a major factor behind this number that we're seeing predicted by the Indian government. We have to look at the fact that the Indian government has been making efforts over the past year or so to put more money in the hands of the common person. For example, there was some income tax relief in last year's annual budget, and that, analysts say, is helping a bit. We also saw a major overhaul of India's goods and services tax, which came into effect in September. And that saw the goods and services tax, or GST rates, on a number of everyday products coming down. Again, that's something that helps to put money into the hands of the consumer and helps to get things moving and, in turn, boost businesses, boost the economy. We've also seen interest rate cuts from the Reserve Bank of India. Again, that's another factor that helps. And we're seeing this reflected in the estimates that the government has also put out for various sectors, including the services sector, which is expected to grow at more than 7% in this current financial year, which runs to the end of March. Similarly, manufacturing is also expected to grow at around 7%, which is a positive figure. So analysts are saying, although this is just a preliminary advance estimate for now, they're not expecting to see a massive difference when the final number comes through. They're still very optimistic on that. And we have to remember that this number, this estimate, is what will be used as the base for India's union budget, which will be presented at the beginning of February.
Rebecca, over the last almost year, the last few months, certainly back and forth, we've been asking this question: what's happening on tariff tensions between New Delhi and Washington? That concern might have receded, but tariffs still one possible headwind to growth in India.
Certainly that is a headwind, and although negotiations are still ongoing between the US and India, we haven't really seen much in terms of signs of progress on when or if a trade deal might actually be reached. And this means that those tariffs of up to 50% are still in effect on India. And that is something that hurts a number of sectors in India, including textiles, jewelry, food products, for example. So there are a number of sectors that are suffering and still suffering because of that. And that sort of does weigh on the economy to some extent, at least, although there are hopes that a trade deal will be reached soon. We've also heard these threats recently from President Trump about potentially higher tariffs if India keeps importing Russian oil. So that's certainly a concern. Also, the situation in Venezuela cannot be ignored. Although oil supplies to India or even globally are limited, it's still a geopolitical risk. And again, analysts say that geopolitical factors could weigh on India's economy if things deteriorate. So that's a concern. Although, having said that, analysts say that in the longer run, if sanctions are lifted and Venezuela is able to resume normal oil supplies globally, that's something that could benefit India, because oil prices are then likely to come down, at least to some extent, and India is a major importer of crude oil. But certainly a number of factors that are potential risks for India and being watched very closely on the trade front. What happens with crude oil, with India being a major importer, and geopolitical concerns as well. well, and any instability there.
Rebecca Bundhun, thank you, reporting for CNA live from Mumbai.